It's another episode of Splash Hit. It's your friends, FP Santangelo and Susan Slusser. Susan, it's Thanksgiving week. Happy Thanksgiving. It's good to see you again. Thanks for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Always willing to hop on and talk Giants baseball with you, FP, as you know.
That's great. I mean, do they have Thanksgiving in London where you're at? Is
They
it a
don't.
thing?
I'm going to. It sounds so ridiculous. My life right now sounds ridiculous. I come back for the winter meetings, and then all this nonsense is over. I'm going to Paris for Thanksgiving because I've got American friends there. Well, actually, she's French, so the best of both worlds: hang with some Americans, and then get a French meal for Thanksgiving and wine. Be great.
Wow. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have turkey. You're going to have snails. That sounds amazing. Before we
Who
get
knows?
going, we got to take care of some business. You guys have been so great. The podcast is getting great feedback from Giants fans, but we're always going for more subscribers, right? So subscribe to Splash Hit Territory. Our next goal is 3,000 subscribers. Check out the logo. Isn't that cool? We're going to have some merch too made up with the Splash Hit Territory, Splash Hit. We're going to see those sweatshirts and hats and t-shirts all around the ballpark, but you have to subscribe first. So hop on there. It's pretty easy. You just click subscribe, and we're thankful for everybody for watching this. We already got a lot of subscribers, so keep it up. You guys are great. All right, the lineup for today. We're going to talk about Buster Posey and what he said about meat on the bone with current position players. We're going to talk about some outfield defense, Rafael Devers, and some other things we'll get to, which you're thankful for maybe this week as a Giants fan. But we'll start out with Buster Posey was talking about the current roster, and he said with some certain players, there's still some meat on the bone. And we kind of want to break down what meat on the bone means with a few players: Jung Lee, Heliot Ramos, Patrick Bailey, in the seasons they had and where they're at in their career, and maybe what those guys can do internally, the players the Giants already have on the roster, because we've talked about free agents, we've talked about who they're picking up, but we want to talk about the current roster right now. So maybe touch on some players, Susan, that I mentioned, and what does meat on the bone mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, as a former player, I think you have the better sense of what meat on the bone plays. This is like the more ceiling. Is that kind of how you take it? A little more ceiling there? Because it tends to be guys, when Buster Posey says this sort of stuff, it tends to be guys like Heliot Ramos, Jung Lee, who obviously has a very short major league career so far. Patrick Bailey, who, has shown, is still quite young and has shown signs of improvement here and there. What do you take that actual phrase to mean, meat on the bone?
Well, they can improve in certain areas, all of them. And there's more left in the tank. With Jung Lee, the outfield play in center field was less than aggressive at times. He goes and gets the ball, but he would veer off and let Heliot Ramos take a ball in the gap. The center fielder's a captain out there. That's probably the position I played most in the big leagues. If the ball's on the left field line and you're the center fielder and you call it, it's your ball. You're the captain out there, and you have to take charge, a lot like a shortstop in the infield. The center fielder's the captain in the outfield. So maybe be a little more aggressive and assertive defensively. It's not so much. He got a great arm. He hits the cutoff man. He's fundamentally sound. Everything is solid with Jung Hoo. The one thing that stands out to me with him is he had 10 stolen bases this year. He got caught 3 times. So that means he only tried to steal 13 times all season long. I'm sure Buster would love for him to be more aggressive on the bases this year, where I think if he asserts himself and has more confidence in that he can steal 30 bases. But base stealing, Susan, is a lot like hitting. You have to have confidence in it. And when you're in a rhythm and you get a good jump and you have the green light and you steal on your pitches and you start to look at what count it is, who's hitting, what they're going to throw to this guy, and you pick the off-speed pitches and you get a tell on the pitcher, and all of a sudden you start to get those good jumps. Base stealing is confidence. And he never looked like he was confident in stealing bases this year, but maybe he's a true leadoff hitter, and he's a guy I think that's the meat on the bone for me and Jung Lee. And maybe I've talked about this on the broadcast before, add bunting to your game. His hero is Ichiro. Ichiro was one of the best base hit bunters. Susan, you remember when he was in Seattle and playing the A's? He would just get down there and just boom and lay it down and be safe. And he would get really – remember when he bunted, he would be 4 steps on the infield grass because he'd be running to the pitcher and he would almost run like a banana route to first base. But he's one of the best base hit bunters ever. And I think if Jung Hoo added that to his game that there is a lot of meat on the bone for him.
You know what? I'm in sort of two minds about Jung Hoo Lee, which sounds like as usual. I'm like, oh, I see both sides. I'm straddling the fence. Um, you know what? He's making a lot of money. This was not one of Buster's signs, but Buster Posey really does believe in Jung Hoo Lee, I believe. For me, the biggest issue is the defense. He was 27th defensively among big league outfielders, center fielders. That's not, especially in that ballpark. That's not okay. His range is not good. The Giants' range in the outfield in general was terrible. They were last in the majors in range by far. You know, they're right at the top among in errors. We don't look at errors that much, but people who watch the Giants consistently know we saw a lot of really bad, inexplicable errors, things that shouldn't be made. Now, new coaching staff, you can be sure this is the first thing that they're going to address. But with Jung Hoo Lee, they know what kind of player he was in Korea, and he was assertive. He was a more assertive player. He certainly was stealing bases. He now has, and this is what Buster keeps saying, last year really was his first big league season. He's learning the pitchers. Obviously, that's so important. He's got a better idea of what pitchers are trying to do with him. They need him to be that high contact guy, like you were saying, like Ichiro, who I think I saw more than any other player while I was covering the A's. I think I've seen him more than any opposing player ever, me personally. And that guy was that, he needs to get back to watching Ichiro now. Obviously, Ichiro was a magician, but you've got to, if you're a contact guy, you've got to find ways to get on base. And now he has an idea. He didn't come in and set the world on fire the way Ichiro did, but he's got to figure out a way to get going. I still like him. If he can get on base regularly, I still like him as a leadoff man. I mean, he really profiles as that, but he's really not as fast as I think we thought he would be. And he's coming off, when they signed him, he was coming off a significant ankle injury. And I'm still a little unclear on why the previous administration didn't like a Carlos Correa ankle injury from his minor league days. And he had then played great since, versus one essentially the previous year before being signed to the major leagues and coming over to a new league. But I don't know how they do that, but they need to improve his range. They need to improve his speed. I think if those things happen, he can be a good, if not maybe all-star level player, at least a good, better than replacement level outfielder, which is absolutely what they need. But that outfield in general, we've touched on it a few times when we talk about what free agents might they go in. You look at right field right now is kind of a big question mark, but the two guys that are coming back are not good enough defensively. And I talked to Heliot Ramos at length about this right at the end of the season. And he said, wow, I felt like the previous year, he'd done so much better. He'd really improved, and he had. And he took a step back last year, and he said that was a matter of focus. And he knows what he has to do. I believe that. I think he has the tools to do it, but you could see just watching him that the focus wasn't there. You're a former outfielder. Was that just watching Heliot Ramos? Is that what you were seeing with just the, maybe the attention to detail and the absolute focus?
It gets back to confidence. In a game where we have all these analytics and data for everything, Heliot Ramos had 4 errors in 2024. He had 9 errors last year. And that's not even talking about misplays that we were all scratching our head at. And I think you would talk to him after a game and he would say, I'm just not feeling it out there. I'm overthinking it. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know what the exact quotes were. But defense is an attitude, and it takes a lot of work. And I think Heliot, was definitely working at it. But the best way as an outfielder to get better is to take balls live off the bat. Like you gotta put the hay in the barn, and you gotta go out there every single day. And it's not fungos, it's not shooting the ball in the machine, it's not a coach hitting them to you. It's during batting practice, you power shag, and you get used to the sound off the bat. You get used to how the ball is carrying that day in the ballpark, because Oracle Park changes every day. You go on the road, it changes every day. There's different corners in left field where the ball shoots around the corner, down the corner. It sticks in there. These are all things you got to practice every single day. And you got to work up a lather. And I know there's all this load management now, and we're trying to get you through the season. But it doesn't take a lot of effort every day to go out there and just bust your tail and take balls live off the bat. Maybe one group a day where you're just power shagging balls off the bat. And then maybe one day you just get your first step quickness. And if a ball's hit to center field, you take a jab step to center field. If a ball's hit to the line, you take a jab step, and you're working on your jumps without actually running after every single ball. But to me, defense is such an attitude right now, and in all players. And I see him working on it, but you really got to work on it if you're Heliot Ramos. And what you do when you do that is you build confidence. So when the game starts, I did my work. I'm relaxed. I got great jumps all day today. I'm seeing the ball and hearing the ball off the bat, and I know where it's going to be based on the weather, the conditions. All right, we got to take care of some business. So here's a quick ad. We'll be right back.
Hey, for all the parents out there with teens, it's more hectic now than ever.
Cash App's going to help, not hurt.
With the Cash App card, available to teens 13 to 17 with sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, every transaction triggers a real-time notification for you to see, empowering your teen to practice independence while giving you peace of mind by keeping track of their spending. You can also manage everything directly from your own Cash App account without having to switch between the two. With the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring. And if something ever feels off, you have the ability to lock their card right from your phone in just one tap. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code FAMILY10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Direct deposit and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures.
There's something else I want to talk about with Heliot too. I was watching the playoffs, and it was when the Mariners were playing, and they cut to, I think it was MLB Network, they cut to a shot of batting practice, and they showed J-Rod for the Mariners, who's a center fielder and a really good one. And he was doing those Ron Washington drills, Susan, where he was doing the short hops with his glove in the backhand. He was doing the short hops this way, what you see Freddie Freeman do on his knees before a game. A lot of Giants guys do it. But it's usually infielders you say do it. And I remember this year, Heliot bobbling a lot of balls in the outfield. And that comes with, like, maybe you start working, like taking ground balls in the infield and doing those drills. And it's just putting the hay in the barn and working every single day. And real quick, back to Jung, a point I forgot to make, and we're talking about meat on the bone. He's literally got to put meat on the bone. He lost a lot of weight during the season. Remember how jacked he was?
He did. He was so thin. Yeah, he was so thin. Even mid-season, he really was losing it quick. Not unusual, but it was noticeable. At one point, I said something to him, and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, oof, much thinner." Yeah, you're right. And you know what? When we're talking about Heliot and Jung, sorry, I could talk about this topic for like a ton. Like, the outfield is just fascinating to me. But I'll take maybe a little, not quite the best off defensive player if you've got 30 homer pop like Heliot does. If you're an all-star like Ramos was 2 years ago, if you're Jung Lee, you either better be hitting 280, 290, getting on base and scoring a ton of runs. Because he's not going to hit 30, or your defense had better be great. And we saw him forget the number of outs. He also made the craziest play of the year, catching the ball between his knees, after losing it. That was great. Like, he's got the skills, but he has to take it. This is a really important position, and I think he's such a likable guy. Really great for the San Francisco Korean American community. Great for the Giants to have, a foothold in that market in Korea. Now he needs to do his part on this.
Yeah, and I think just having a year under his belt, and we all kind of forget, like, he didn't play very many games his first year. So he was basically a rookie in the big leagues this year, in the rigors of the travel and the rigors of the schedule and the mental grind every single day, and then the physical grind every single day, and the new ballparks and the new pitchers and all of these things. So with that all under his belt, there's going to be adjustments made. He's going to come in jacked again, and he's going to have a great. I love being around the guy. I love being around his interpreter, Justin. Those guys together are hilarious. It's great to be around him every day. Yeah, and Jung Lee is just one of my favorite people to be around every single day. So we're rooting for him to have a big season. Let's touch on Patrick Bailey before we get to Devers real quick, and the meat on the bone with Patrick Bailey. And in my opinion, Susan, like 222, hit 233 in 23, hit 234 in 24, and hit 222 this year. But for him, the right side of the plate has always been a big deal. He came on strong at the end of the season. He does have the clutch gene. We've talked about that. He gets a lot of big hits, but he's struck out, and I have it right here in my notes. He struck out 133 times last year, walked 30. He struck out 333 times in his career versus 90 walks. I think with the Gold Glove catcher and him being the best defensive catcher in baseball, maybe should have won the Platinum Glove this year. That's a whole nother discussion. But if he just cuts down on the strikeouts and there's some sort of spread out 2-strike approach fight, because there was a time this year when he was taking a lot of called third strikes, but you've seen him battle and you know there's more in the tank there offensively. And I think if there's a platoon situation where the Giants get like a solid right-handed hitting catcher and just let him hit against righties all year, obviously there's going to be left-handed relievers that come in the game and he's got to turn around. But like, I think Patrick Bailey could hit 250 and catch the way he's catching if he just puts the ball in play a little bit more. And it's so easy to say on a podcast. I'm not facing a guy throwing 102 with a nasty split. But just a little bit more, I think, if there's a 2-strike approach there, that's the meat on the bone for me with Patrick Bailey, because I think he can hit a lot higher average if he wants to.
This is another guy I could talk about all day. The thing I really liked last year was, the 2 previous years he had gone off a cliff toward the end of the season. Last year he finished strong. He was hitting better at the end of the season than he was at any point. He figured some things out. I really liked seeing that. And you're right about the Platinum Glove. He was the Fielding Bible's Player of the Year. You could argue maybe next year with the ABS system coming in, maybe some of that, some of those numbers come certainly from pitch framing. Maybe some of that goes away, but I don't think so. I don't think that that's going to affect pitch framing quite as much as I think a lot of people do. But I think you could definitely argue that potentially the Giants would benefit from having an offensive catcher they could platoon with Bailey. But one thing, and I know we've talked about this sometimes in the press box, and I've asked Ron Wotus and some other people about this. What about having him just hit from one side? Is there a benefit to that? And yes, I know everyone loves a switch hitter and especially a switch hitting catcher. But if it's not working, maybe you try the other one, or is that just too hard a switch at this point in somebody's career?
Well, I've talked to JT Snow a lot about it, and he was a switch hitter for most of his career, and then he just went straight left. And JT always says that if you can hit the ball to left field as a left-handed hitter, you can hit a lefty. I was a switch hitter my whole career too. There's no way left-handed I could hit a lefty, but I was better from the right side. So for the Giants, mostly I played against left-handers. Marvin Bernard played against right-handers, and we platooned. But switch hitting, that's why what Cal Raleigh did this year is so amazing. There's so much work that goes into switch hitting. Like, you're 2 different players. You're 2 different hitters. I had 2 different bats. I had 2 different stances. I had to work on my left-handed swing every day. And that's what most people work on. But then you got to turn around and work on your right-handed swing too. So the maintenance, and you go through streaks where you don't see a lefty for a while and you're hitting left-handed all the time. And then all of a sudden there's a lefty and you're like, uh-oh. I haven't been working on my right-handed swing enough, and Kershaw's pitching today, and now I got to really bear it. So you're literally 2 different hitters.
Well, then you add in being a catcher and also having to be in charge of the pitchers and the game plan that day and knowing all the opposing hitters. That the catcher's workload is extraordinary. Again, Cal Raleigh, wow, what a season!
Should have been MVP.
Even more reason. If I'm the Giants, maybe at some point I might have it, maybe in the past. I mean, I really like the way Bailey finished the season. So I'm not saying that this is something I'm necessarily proposing now, but I'm a little surprised that maybe last year, early in the season and previous season, and maybe in an off season, they hadn't considered maybe having him just go from one side or the other and then really going full bore with a platoon. So, but yeah, you had time to work on both sides, FP. Not everybody does.
Yeah, that's a great point. They just, even the workload alone on a daily basis will be lessened if he just hits from one side of the plate, and all the meetings he has to sit into, he'll have more time to work on his craft. All right, we got to take one more quick break and tell you about the Ridge wallet.
If you are still carrying a clunky leather brick that can be mistaken for an old school wallet, may I introduce you to what Eric Kratz is getting himself for the holidays?
I mean, this is the greatest wallet that I've ever seen in my life. Your credit cards fit in here. It's adjustable, lifetime guarantee. Like what like this is a must-have for the holidays. Absolute must-have.
Ridge Olive Matte. That is the design that Kratz has right now, and you can get a hold of that. There's over 50 plus colors and styles to choose from over at Ridge. You can even get a wallet that features every NFL, MLB, or college team. And for a limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Head to ridge.com/foul to get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year. That's ridge.com/foul for up to 47% off your order during their biggest sale of the year. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about Ridge. Tell them Foul Territory sent you.
I have one of those.
Oh, wow.
I've been
Look at
using
that.
this probably for 6-7 years, the Ridge wallet. I wish it would not let me pull my credit cards out. If there was a way where I couldn't pull this out and then try to
A lock?
yeah, because I'm running them all up way too high, but they're outstanding. Super sleek. They fit in my pocket.
Oh, that does sound like a good Christmas present for people. All right.
Yeah. All right.
I'm filing this away.
I'm a big fan, and it's got the money clip too on the side. So if I ever have cash, which I never do, you can put the money right there. All right, let's talk about Rafael Devers. Let's change gears a little bit and talk about Rafael Devers and a full year with the Giants. Hit 252, 35 home runs, 109 driven in last year combined. As a Giant, he hit 236 with 20 home runs, drove in 51, had an 807 OPS. Those are the numbers. When we talk about Rafael Devers in a full season as a San Francisco Giant next year, my biggest question isn't like, does he play first base? Does he put up the numbers? It's like, what's the relationship going to be between the manager and a guy like Rafael Devers? And I think Rafi gets painted in such a bad light, like nationally, about he's this, he's that. I even talked to a friend who's in baseball on the phone the other day, and he was just like, well, I'm like, no. This guy's fun to be around. He's a baseball gym rat. He drinks and sleeps baseball. Like he lives it every single day, and he loves to hit. He's a professional hitter. But like you have a college coach with no major league experience coaching this guy with a huge contract that I guess there's been some things that have happened in Boston, not I guess, but we know. What's that relationship going to be like? How does Tony Vitello navigate Rafael Devers? And with the language barrier, I know Tony's in the Dominican and he's trying to learn some Spanish, and that's super admirable and very valuable as a manager in today's game. But like, how's that going to go, Susan?
Well, as you know, Devers is basically fluent in English. I think most people have seen some of his post-game press conferences, which always kind of made me laugh because typically with a Spanish-speaking player, we'll ask a question, the wonderful Erwin Nigueros will then translate for the player, listen to his answer, translate back. With Devers, we ask a question and he immediately starts answering in Spanish. He wants to get the words right, which I appreciate. I think any reporter wants to get exactly what somebody is trying to get across perfectly. So I like the way he does it, but there's absolutely no doubt. And you can chit chat with him. Like his English is excellent. So I don't think that's going to be a problem, but you know, he has not, none of them have played for somebody like Tony Vitello. He's somebody who's come in relatively new and very high profile. I mean, this is the biggest name on the roster. And we don't really know, you know, we've heard from guys like Logan Webb, who we talked to here, and a few other guys on the team have weighed in on their thoughts on Vitello, but we don't yet know what Devers is thinking. And of course, I think everyone is going to say the right things, but Vitello has not had Spanish-speaking players. He has not dealt with a superstar major league player before. He sounds like, and again, I still haven't talked to him or met him. I'm starting to get really sad about that.
I know.
But he sounds like such a people person, right? I don't think that this is really going to be an issue at any point. And I do think that once you get through spring training, everybody knows everybody. Everybody's just going to be like, this guy, he's putting my name in the lineup, or he's putting me here or there, and I know who he is, and he's calling the shots, and let's see how it goes. I think that goes away within any trepidation anybody has on the team. I think that goes away. Spring training is so long. This is one of the things it's for, is getting to know teammates, getting to know other coaches, new coaches, everybody. And I think that's one of the things, obviously, Devers didn't have last year. I think this spring, for many reasons, is huge for him. But among them, getting to know not just Vitello, but the whole rest of the staff. And Jace Tingler speaks Spanish, so I think he is going to be a real key. He's been a manager in the big leagues. I think he's going to be somebody who maybe even could sort of be the guy for Rafael Devers. But I still think I think I gave, and some people pushed back on this. Some fans didn't love this. I gave Buster, I think, an A+ for his work last year. And this isn't I'm kissing Buster's butt or anything. I'm happy to say if a front office isn't doing their job or anybody isn't doing their job. But he caught Rafael Devers out of nowhere, well, like a month plus before the deadline. That's outrageous. This guy is such a talent, and the kind of guy that the Giants have shown time and time again they cannot sign on the open market. That's huge. He went and got out and got that guy. So I don't want to overstate this, but Rafael Devers is really the key for everything for the Giants. They are a team that had a subpar offense last year. They're going to have him for the whole year, and he will be comfortable after a full spring training. So we're going to be talking a lot about him, but not too. I put too much on him. He played in Boston. Coming to San Francisco, that's no big thing.
Yeah, all you beat writers are soft compared to the Boston.
A+.
I'm going to name drop right now. I told Tony about our podcast, and he said he wants to come on. So he's been super busy, but we are getting Tony on. I said I'm doing a podcast with Susan Slusser. Would you come on? He goes, FP anytime.
Like who's that?
I'm the biggest Tony Vitello fan right now. I just think he's gonna have his hiccups. It's gonna be a learning curve, but he's so smart. He's gonna wear it if he makes mistakes. But I think this is a great hire. Everybody, Susan, in spring training is your best friend and the nicest guy ever. You've been there. Like how are you in July when you're 0 for your last 20? How are you when you've lost your last 5 starts and your ERA is over 4? How are you as a manager or a coach when your team has lost 10 in a row? Everyone's going to lose 7 to 10 in a row during the season. It's just part of 162 games. And I think for Tony in the relationship, and the reason we're talking about this, I was at my friend's bar the other night, shocking news. And a guy came up to me, a Giants fan, and he said, how is that all going to work with Devers and Tony Vitello? And I said, it's just going to work. Because I think when you have a superstar player, you just let him do him. You just, like you said, put his name in the lineup. I think the challenge is going to come if Tony's going to implement this. We play hard, we hustle, we put pressure on the defense. And Rafi does one of those things where he jogs to first, which in his defense, I'll say this about Rafi Devers. I've told everybody, that guy posts every day. He plays banged up. He plays hurt. And in today's game, I don't want to go too far with this. That just doesn't happen very often. If guys get hurt, they're not sacrificing their numbers. They're going to take care of it so that they can help the team not too many people play through injuries. Yeah.
He had a groin thing, that he was still playing with, but I think most of the year. This, FP, and I'm not sure this isn't something people write about or talk about necessarily on the broadcast all the time. If you see, especially a big name guy, look like he's jaking it to first, he's usually been told by the training staff, and it's been approved by the manager in the front office. If you're hitting it like a very soft, very easy ground ball, take it easy, don't bust it. They've been told that. And then, fans go, what's wrong with him? He's got a bad attitude. That's almost never the case. If you should see a shot of the dugout and the manager looks ticked, the guy's jaking it. Otherwise, it's all good. That's pretty much it. And Devers came in with a pretty good reputation, actually. Most of the people in Boston said good. Look what he did. Immediately, he grabs somebody else's glove and starts working out at first base. Not even any pushback at all. So, hey, some of that maybe was to poke Boston. Who knows? I'll take it. But he looked really good there. I thought. I think he's a guy who, with a little work, if you're an okay, if not great third baseman, you can be a really good first baseman with some work. And I think he could be a really good first baseman. So we'll resume the what happens to Bryce Eldridge conversation at a later date.
Yeah, I don't even know about that right now. There was a time when Devers was hitting for the Giants this year that I felt like he was going to hit a home run every time when he was locked in. and he's line to line pop. It was pretty exciting to watch. All right. Should we go to the second base catcher thing, or should we go to what Giants fans should be thankful about as Thanksgiving approaches?
We mentioned a little bit about catcher. I think the only other kind of position besides, the outfield has got some questions, and obviously, what they potentially could do at catcher, but second base. Is that an area, FP, where you think that they either need an upgrade or need to do something, or at least add another option?
I love Casey Schmidt and his development this year. I really love him as a baseball player. I think he can be a dude. I really do. And he played second base. I mean, if you can play third, you can play second. His arm plays at every different angle at second base. Going up the middle, he's got the cannon to throw back to first, to turn a double play flat-footed. I think the bat was hot and cold at times, a little bit streaky, but like that's every baseball player. I'm really okay with him playing second. And I know there's other guys out there, but if you're talking about pitching and defense, I don't think it gets better than Casey Schmidt defensively at any position. I think shortstop, he played there a little bit, but third base, you saw, I mean, obviously Chapman's Chapman, but Casey did a great job at third base when Chapman was hurt this year. He did a great job at second base. He's going to run into one. He battles you. He's taking more walks now. I know the average probably wasn't where he wanted it to be, but I think I'm very okay with Casey Schmidt being the Giant second baseman. My son the other day, FP Jr., said, "Dad, the Giants have to trade for Bryce Harper, and Bryce Harper's a second baseman." I'm like, Bryce Harper's not playing second base for the Giants. I go, no, that's why you're not coming on my podcast, okay? Because of things like that. But I don't know. What's your thoughts on second base?
I love Casey Schmidt, and he's also one of the most popular is not quite the right word. People in the clubhouse love Casey Schmidt. He's kind of fun and goofy and different, just like lovable guy. I mean, I think he is a real plus in kind of all areas. And I just, the Giants now have a shortstop and 3 third basemen is essentially what the infield is. So I don't mind that on a defensive standpoint whatsoever. So there is room to grow offensively. He needs to be consistent. If he's not consistent, I think that is an area that they're going to have to address. I don't necessarily think that they're going to give up on Tyler Fitzgerald, although he's kind of aging out of prospect territory pretty rapidly. They're turning him into a utility player, but we saw some real flashes from him. But Casey Schmidt, I think, has absolutely the first crack and gets a pretty long leash, I think, in my book. But yeah, I just wanted to, since we were talking about the regulars, I think that was kind of necessary. But you mentioned Giants fans should, what they might be thankful for. I mean, besides some really good pitching, Gold Glove caliber third baseman, catcher, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, at the risk of losing some subscribers, I think Giants fans are tough. I mean, it's hard to find something to be thankful for if you're a Giants fan because you're used to world championships. So then because of 10, 12, and 14, you've created high standards and high expectations. And I think everybody that works on the corner of Third and King loves that. Like, that's what you want your fan base, right? You want your fan base to expect a championship. But that team down south has kind of got the market cornered as we speak. So for me, as a Giants fan and growing up a Giants fan, I'm super thankful for the direction the organization is headed. It was super frustrating for me when I came back from the East Coast and kind of saw a different brand and philosophy that just didn't feel like the Giants baseball that I grew up with, that I watched in 10, 12, and 14, that, the hardcore lunch pail, hard hat, we're going to scrap and fight and claw and battle you with 2 strikes and pitch it and catch it and have parades. And that's what we all got used to. And then there was just math and line changes. And it was strange. The whole thing was strange. So I always talk about Buster Posey and Zach Manassian building a foundation and how that's not sexy. I thought it was a great foundational year for Buster. Like, the foundation's been laid now. We have world champions running our organization. We have a baseball player, one of the most iconic baseball players and a future Hall of Famer, as our team president. We have a new manager that we're all wondering about, that we all like so far, but what's going to happen with that, to me, is the best reality show in the Bay Area that's coming up. and we're all fans, and we're excited about that. So like for a Giants fan, and I'm not talking about as a broadcaster or a former player, I'm talking about as a Giants fan, I'm kind of just thankful that Javi's back in the organization, and it just feels like baseball again, when it felt like a lot of computers before.
Yeah, Bochy. I mean,
Oh,
I love
yes.
that. The Giants are so good at bringing back their guys, but especially now. I love all of this. Here's one thing, having spent so long on the other side of the bay, they've got resources. This is something that I think gets taken for granted. And yeah, you could argue maybe they're not even spending enough. Possibly look at the Dodgers. The Dodgers have even more resources. That's insane, but they've got good, solid resources, and they do seem to have an ownership that listens to Buster Posey. If he wants to add something, I think by and large they're going to go out and get what he wants. So I think that's something to, whatever your feelings are on ownership or front offices or execs in general, certainly they have the wherewithal to do some of these things if they want to. And we can, if there's some obvious things and they don't, then I think you and I will have plenty to talk about at a later date.
Yes, I'm coming to see you on Friday. I'm flying
Yes.
across the pond. I think it's a 74-hour flight from San Francisco to London, so I'm super excited about. I'm trying to
We're
get it.
podcasting first.
Yeah, you're going to take me around.
It's you and JT.
Yes,
That's right.
JT is coming on Friday with me before I get on the airplane to come see you. So happy Thanksgiving, even though you guys don't celebrate it over there, or the Norm Macdonald line. You remember that? Or as turkeys call it, Murder Day. So happy Thanksgiving, and I will see you in a few days. Great job today, and like I always say on the way out, swing hard in case you hit it. I'll see you soon, Susan.